You know that moment when you're the last one lingering at a house party? The music has died, the laughter is gone, the couches are empty, and you suddenly notice that everyone else paired off hours ago. You're left standing there, beer gone flat in your hand, pizza boxes cold and collapsing, realizing nobody bothered to tell you they'd moved on. That hollow feeling in your gut, that creeping awareness that you've been forgotten without a word, that's exactly what most men live with inside their own relationships. Still physically there, yet abandoned all the same. Abandoned while she's sitting right next to them, scrolling her phone, sighing, reminding him with every glance that he's no longer enough. And the worst part? He has no idea how to stop it. Today, I'm giving you the verbal codes that can detonate this illusion instantly. Words so potent, so destabilizing to the female ego that most men will never dare speak them. And that hesitation, that fear of confrontation, is exactly why they'll keep repeating the same misery on loop. I've watched this story play out over and over. A man walks into a relationship strong, self-assured, standing tall. He has friends, purpose, hobbies. 6 months later, he's checking with her before he makes plans. A year later, he's apologizing for raising his voice slightly or for wanting a night to himself. 2 years in, he's erased. He can't even remember who he was before she reshaped him into her servant. She's managed to rewrite his entire identity. And the cruelest part? He thinks this is love. He confuses captivity with intimacy. He believes that walking on eggshells is what commitment looks like. He tells himself that the constant need for approval, the endless cycle of guilt and apology, is what keeps her close. But the truth is brutal. Every time he bends under her pressure, every time he swallows his pride to appease her, he isn't saving the relationship, he's suffocating it. You see, attraction doesn't die with betrayal. It doesn't even die with distance. It dies from weakness. Every time she tests and he collapses, every time she pushes and he caves, every time she threatens and he begs, another piece of her desire dies. Because deep in her biology, deeper than any ideology or cultural trend, a woman needs to feel she is with someone stronger than herself. Strip that away, and her love decays piece by piece. Carl Jung once warned, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But what happens when only one changes, when only one dissolves? The reaction dies. That's what happens to these men. They dissolve until there's nothing left but a husk of the person she first fell for. And the signs are everywhere. You can see it in her posture, in the way she speaks, in her eyes, or more accurately, in how she looks through him. He becomes invisible in his own home. Not a partner, not a leader, just a piece of furniture that hands over money and validation on command. And as her invisible crown grows heavier and taller, he becomes smaller, more disposable, a servant in her private kingdom. Eventually, she doesn't just lose attraction, she feels disgust. Not because he mistreated her, but because he allowed her to succeed in destroying him. Nietzsche once said, "He who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises." But the man who abandons himself altogether, she cannot respect at all. Now let's talk about something psychologists call the test paradox. Here's how it works. Women test men to confirm strength. Yet ironically, those very tests, repeated again and again, gradually weaken him if he doesn't understand what's happening. It's erosion, not one single blow, but tiny fragments chipped away every day. Like a cliff worn down by the sea, the man is left a fragile outline of who he once was. Soon, he's little more than a shell that says, "Yes, dear," to everything. And here's the twist she'll never admit. She resents him for it. She resents him for being soft, even though she created the softness. She resents him for failing her challenges, even though she designed them to trip him up. She resents him for becoming exactly what her instincts forced him to create. It's like the DMV line. You wait for hours, you get used to the misery, and eventually you think it's normal. But just because everyone around you is miserable doesn't mean that's the only way it has to be. This is the quiet nightmare men are trapped in. They normalize dysfunction. They look at other couples, assuming that behind closed doors, every man is beaten down the same way. They don't realize that some men broke the code. Some men figured out the switch that shuts this down instantly, not by shouting, not by begging, but by speaking the words that strike directly at the foundation of her ego. Words that break the pattern she thought could never be broken. And when you learn to use them, everything shifts. The first one cuts deeper than any insult. It strips away the very identity she clings to. It's not said in anger, not thrown in rage, but delivered calmly, with the weight of truth. And that's why it devastates. That's why it works. Verse 3. The first weapon is simple in form but devastating in impact, telling her she's ordinary, not shouted, not spat out in anger, but said with the calm detachment of someone who has finally seen through the illusion. You look her in the eye and say, "When I first met you, I thought you were different, that you stood apart. But you're just like every other woman I've known. The same insecurities, the same games, the same predictable drama." It lands like a thunderclap because every woman is convinced she's the exception to the rule. From childhood, she's been fed the story that she's unique, a one-of-a-kind heroine in the romance of life. Tell her she's ordinary, and you collapse that fantasy in an instant. She realizes she's not a singular diamond, she's just another stone in the gravel. I once watched a couple arguing outside a restaurant. She was lecturing him about how he failed to appreciate her uniqueness, how he didn't understand how special she was. He stood there, unshaken, and replied, "Special? You're doing exactly what my ex did, word for word. It's like you're all reading from the same manual." Silence. Not quiet, but silence so thick you could hear her ego shatter on the pavement. That's the power of showing her that the script she thought was her personal masterpiece is actually recycled theater. Dostoevsky once said, "Man is what he believes." For a woman who believes she's irreplaceable, this phrase forces her to confront a terrifying new belief that she is not. The second weapon is even more destabilizing, showing indifference to her leaving. Her threats are only powerful if you fear them. "I'm done. I'm walking out." Most men panic, beg, negotiate, but the strong man simply gestures to the door. She says, "I need space." You smile and say, "Take all the time you need. I've got plans anyway." She drops the nuclear option. "My ex has been texting me." And you reply, "That's nice. Maybe you two should work it out." In that moment, her entire strategy crumbles. Because every threat is based on the assumption that you're terrified to lose her. When you show her you don't just accept her departure, but might even prefer it, she realizes she was playing poker with a royal flush, and you weren't even sitting at the same table. I remember a man telling me about the day his girlfriend tried the classic manipulation. "Maybe we should see other people." She expected tears, pleading, proof of devotion. Instead, he looked her dead in the eye and said, "That's a great idea. There's someone I've wanted to ask out for a while. Thanks for making this easier." He said her face collapsed like a building hit with explosives. She tried to backtrack immediately, insisting she didn't mean it, that it was just a test. But the test had already failed. Not for him, but for her. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Indifference is that strength in its purest form. The third weapon cuts deeper still, because it strikes at the heart of her feminine power, her sexual self-image. For centuries, women have understood that sexuality is their ultimate lever of influence, the ace card that keeps men orbiting around them. Every woman believes her intimacy is her superpower, the thing that makes her irreplaceable. But when you casually, without malice, without cruelty, suggest that in bed she's nothing remarkable, the detonation is nuclear. Delivered gently, almost as an afterthought. Honestly, the physical side of us has always been just okay. I've had more passionate connections before, but that's fine. Not everyone can be exceptional at everything. And then you carry on folding laundry, reading, watching TV, like you just commented on the weather. That's what makes it brutal. Not the words themselves, but the calmness. She'll go silent. Not argue, not attack, just silent, processing the unthinkable, that her strongest weapon is actually a toy gun. I heard a story of a man who tried this without malice. After years of manipulation, he finally said, "You know, our chemistry has always been average." The effect was immediate. She grew quiet, withdrawn, and for weeks afterward, she overcompensated, trying to reignite a spark that was never as special as she believed. Why does this work? Because unlike insults about personality or appearance, which she can dismiss, this one attacks the identity she guards most closely. Deep down, Every woman harbors the fear that she might be unremarkable in bed. Confirming that suspicion cuts past the armor and straight into the ego. Now, before you misunderstand, these aren't meant to be weapons of cruelty. They aren't tools to dominate or destroy. Think of them like antibiotics. You don't swallow antibiotics when you're healthy. You use them only when the body is infected. Likewise, these words aren't for everyday use. Therefore, when the relationship has rotted with manipulation, when you've been cornered by emotional terrorism, when her games have become weapons themselves, only then do you respond with truth sharp enough to cut through the fog. And once you see it clearly, once you realize what they can do, you'll understand that there are still more tools. Ones that don't just wound the ego, but flip the entire dynamic on its head. Because the next method doesn't only shut down the test, it makes her question why she ever played the game in the first place. The next counter is one that quietly dismantles her favorite trick: comparison. Women thrive on comparisons. Your relationship against her friends, your effort against the curated fantasy she scrolls through online. Why don't you ever buy me things like he does? Why don't we travel like that couple on Instagram? Most men shrink under the weight of these contrasts, trying desperately to measure up, but the reversal is devastating. You casually flip the script. Funny, because Jake's girlfriend never complains when he goes out with his friends. Sarah never threatens to leave when she doesn't get her way. Maybe I chose the wrong type of woman. The silence that follows is telling. For the first time, her weapon of comparison cuts her instead of you. She suddenly realizes the game she invented can be played against her, and she doesn't like how it feels. But perhaps the most elegant of all strategies is what I call the agreement method. She makes a statement designed to wound, to provoke, to draw out your defense. Maybe I should just find someone who appreciates me. The weak man begs, "No, baby, I do appreciate you. Don't leave." The strong man simply agrees, "You know what? You're right. You deserve someone who makes you happy. Clearly that's not me. I'll even help you pack." Watch the energy shift. She tries to throw fire, but you pour water on it instantly. She says, "You're not a real man." You nod. Exactly. A real man wouldn't tolerate this behavior. Thanks for pointing that out. She claims the spark is gone. You sigh with relief. I've been feeling the same way. Better we end this now than waste more of each other's time. Instead of being trapped in her frame, you shatter it by refusing to play. It's like trying to throw a punch and finding the opponent has stepped aside, letting you fall into your own momentum. There was a viral clip that made the rounds recently. A woman berated her boyfriend in a shopping mall, calling him pathetic, weak. Not the man she thought he was. Everyone expected him to defend himself, to argue, to prove her wrong. Instead, he stood calmly, nodded, and said, "You're right. I am pathetic for putting up with this." Then he turned and walked away. No shouting, no dramatics, just dignity. The internet exploded. Half the comments condemned him for leaving her standing there, but the other half, mostly men, saw it for what it was. The cleanest victory they had ever witnessed. But the truth is, the most crushing blow doesn't come from what you say during the relationship. It comes after she leaves. She storms off expecting you to spiral, to beg, to unravel. Instead, you thrive. You reconnect with old friends she disapproved of, pursue hobbies she dismissed, live with a lightness she thought she had extinguished. She believed her absence would be your punishment. Instead, it becomes your freedom. She thought she was the sun you revolved around. Instead, she discovers she was just a cloud blocking your light. That realization creates what psychologists call an existential crisis. Her self-worth is shattered, not because you left, but because you proved she wasn't essential to your happiness. In fact, you're happier without her. And it's not just theory. Men see this happen again and again. The moment they stop chasing, stop texting novels about how much they miss her, stop groveling for reconciliation, something strange happens. Suddenly, she's the one reaching out with emergencies. Suddenly, she shows up at his place to retrieve things she never really needed. Suddenly, she wants to talk about us. It's a pattern so predictable it could be graphed. She thought she was writing the script. Then she realized she was just an actress in someone else's play. Here's where most men make a mistake. They take these behaviors personally, as if she calculated them in cold blood. But female testing isn't usually conscious manipulation. It's instinct. It's nature. A spider doesn't calculate how many threads make a web, it just spins. A bird doesn't study blueprints to make a nest, it builds by instinct. In the same way, women test. They create traps not because they're evil, but because it's written into their biology. And just like you wouldn't resent a scorpion for stinging, that's simply what scorpions do, you shouldn't resent women for testing. The difference, though, is that unlike a scorpion, she actually wants you to avoid the sting. Every test is a plea. Please be stronger than me. Every manipulation is a hidden prayer. Please see through this so I can respect you. Science even backs this up. A psychological study conducted in Stockholm observed couples during heated arguments. When men maintained calmness, refusing to mirror the chaos, women's stress hormones declined faster than when men tried to soothe them. Her biology was literally telling her, finally, a man who won't break. This is why indifference is more powerful than reassurance. It doesn't escalate, it doesn't submit, it simply stands firm. And her nervous system interprets that firmness as safety. Understand this, she doesn't want you to crumble. She doesn't want your submission. What she wants, what her biology craves, is a man whose strength relieves her of the burden of always being strong herself. And when you embody that, when you hold the line without anger or apology, something incredible happens. She starts working for you. She starts chasing. She begins to fear what she never feared before, losing the man who doesn't need her. But that leads us to the most devastating truth of all, the one no woman will admit out loud. Because her greatest fear isn't that you'll leave, it's something far darker. Her deepest fear isn't that you'll pack your bags and walk away. It's that you'll stay, but stop caring. That you'll remain in the same house, share the same bed, but look at her and feel nothing. No anger, no longing, no hate, just indifference. Because indifference is the moment her power evaporates. It's when the crown she's been wearing doesn't simply slip off, it vanishes completely. One way to reach this state is what I call the mirror method. Whatever energy she hands you, you reflect it back without hesitation. She grows cold, you grow colder. She withdraws, you turn distant. She hurls disrespect, you respond with dismissiveness. She threatens to leave, and you're already halfway out the door emotionally. This isn't about pettiness or playing games. It's about refusing to invest more than she does. It's about showing her that you won't shoulder all the weight while she coasts. And if she wants to play childish games, then she'll win the prize that comes with them, life without you. What makes this even more frustrating for men is how women rewrite history. 1,000 sacrifices vanish from memory, but the one time you tell her no, that becomes the eternal story she clings to. You can exhaust yourself defending your record, but it's pointless. She's not operating from facts, she's operating from feelings. And in her version of events, you're always the villain. She's always the victim. Which is why the most effective move isn't trying to argue your case, it's living in such a way that you don't care what case she builds. Because the real power isn't pretending to be happy without her, it's genuinely thriving without her. And when that happens, when you truly feel lighter without her manipulation, something incredible occurs. She realizes that what she thought was control was really just dependency. You see, most men have been so thoroughly brainwashed by culture that they believe struggle equals love. Hollywood scripts, chart-topping songs, endless social media posts, all telling you that jealousy means passion, that pain proves it's real, that sacrifice is the ultimate proof of devotion. They sell you the myth that relationships must be war zones to be worth having. But here's the truth. A relationship with the right woman isn't hard. It doesn't drain you. It flows. It makes life easier, not harder. There was a case I recall where a husband discovered his wife had been talking down about him to her friends for years, calling him weak, boring, insisting she could do better. Most men would have confronted her, only to be gaslighted into thinking they were overreacting. But this man didn't argue. He said calmly, "You're right. You could do better, and I definitely can. Let's both upgrade." He filed for divorce the next day. For months afterward, she fought to get him back, suddenly becoming the devoted wife she'd never been before. Why? Because she realized the truth women rarely admit. They only value what they might lose, they only respect what doesn't need them, and they only desire what can walk away. This isn't cynicism, it's biology. Think about a cat. It loses all interest in a toy once it lies still on the floor. But the second you drag it away, it pounces with everything it has. Human nature isn't so different. As long as she knows you'll never leave, she relaxes into contempt. The second she feels she could lose you, her respect and attraction surge. That's why boundaries are everything. A woman without boundaries in her partner is like water with no container. It floods, it destroys, it consumes everything until there's nothing left. And every man convinces himself that his situation is unique. You don't understand, she's different. Our relationship is complicated. We have history. But that's just denial. Your situation isn't unique. Your woman isn't different. You've just fallen for the same script that's been running for centuries. Here's the paradox. The very words women fear the most, the ones that strip away their illusions, are the ones they secretly need to hear. Because a woman with unchecked power is miserable. When her crown grows so heavy she can't see past it, when she holds complete control and has nothing left to conquer, she doesn't feel joy. She feels emptiness. She feels bored. She wonders why she's so restless when she has everything she thought she wanted. By refusing to play her games, by refusing to bend, by standing up and speaking the truth, you don't just save yourself, you save her too. You protect her from her worst impulses. You save her from the misery of having a man she can't admire. But most men won't do it. They'll watch a message like this, nod in agreement, and then return to the same pattern, saying, "Yes, dear," walking on eggshells, shrinking smaller each day, because they fear conflict more than they fear losing themselves. Until one day, they wake up so broken they don't even remember what self-respect felt like. They preemptively apologize. They mistake manipulation for love. They make excuses for their own captivity. I don't want to hurt her feelings. She doesn't care about yours. I don't want to lose her. You already have. I don't want to be alone. But you already are. You're just alone with someone else in the room. The truth is, using these words isn't about being cruel. It's about being honest. When you tell her she's not special, you're just acknowledging reality. When you show indifference to losing her, you're being rational. Why fear the loss of someone who makes your life worse? When you live better without her, you're not inventing a story. You're simply living free of conflict. These phrases aren't bombs to destroy. They're tools to rebuild. Either you rebuild your relationship on respect or you rebuild your life without her. But one way or another, you reclaim yourself. Every woman's greatest fear isn't losing you. It's you staying, but no longer needing her. It's you being there in body, but gone in spirit. It's you looking at her with the same emotion you'd give a stranger. None. That's when the crown doesn't just topple. It ceases to exist. That's when she realizes her control was always an illusion, and that's the moment you become untouchable. The choice is yours. Stay silent and remain an extra in her one-woman play, or push the red button and reclaim the lead role in your own life, because she doesn't fear losing you. She fears you no longer fearing the loss of her. Use these words wisely. Use them sparingly. But when the time comes, when the manipulation has gone too far, when your dignity is on life support, use them without hesitation, without apology, without mercy. Because the only fate worse than being the man who dared to speak them is being the man who was too afraid to.